This is Heath Sanders, and you're listening to TNCRadio.live.
TNCRadio.live, your commercial driver navigation station.
We're all about the news, information, entertainment, talk radio, music, comedy, and topics truckers want to hear. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kelly. We're talking with retired NASA engineer Homer Hickam, who's the author of Rocket Boys, which inspired the movie October Sky. We're talking with Alex Debogorski. He's one of the original stars of Ice Road Truckers. Chip Davis of Mannheim Steamroller, music icon and Grammy Award-winning country artist Lee Greenwood. We're speaking with racing legend Mario Andretti. Michael Martin Murphey is a legend on the music scene with wonderful ballads and hits like Wildfire and Cowboy Logic. Curtis Grimes.
Michael McDowell, the 2021 Daytona 500 winner.
Our guest this afternoon is Tom Bodett. You know the name, you know the voice.
The Carolina Monkey Gouger, Jimmy Artis. Today we have the honor of speaking again with Long Haul Paul. Today we have Claire Dunn and Logan Mize with us. Stay tuned and stay safe with TNCRadio.live.
All right, welcome in TNC Radio.live. This is Clutch Time Sports, and now here are your hosts, Banker and Anderson.
Good evening, everybody out there on the freeways, byways, and highways. I'm your co-host, Ivan Anderson, along with my main man, Mr. Josh Banker. JB, how are you doing this evening?
I am relishing the fact that we're already 4 days into 2023, and it feels like it's been a month already.
Isn't that crazy? It seemed like we hit Thanksgiving, and it's like Christmas and New Year's just went by with a flash.
I was talking to our esteemed producer, Mr. Tom Kelly, before you hopped on here about how it's amazing how when you come back from a vacation or, a holiday like this, you feel like every so often things slow down as you start the year, but it has been the exact opposite this year. Everybody is off and running, at least in my world. So it's been crazy town since I've got back from the East Coast.
Yeah, it has. And also like to apologize to our listeners. I'm a little bit under the weather. I go the whole year without getting sick. My family gets sick 3 weeks, 2 and 3 weeks before Christmas. And I get it on the way back from Canada. I have no idea how this happened.
Oh, it's that terrible Canadian air. That's what it is. I mean, there's no fresh air up there.
Well, you know what Bob Hope said? He'd never trust air he couldn't see.
And he lived most of the time in Southern California, so I can totally relate to that equation for sure. Well, Mr. Anderson, I gotta start things off. I mean, it's been a new year and all this stuff, but just craziness on Monday Night Football this week. Tom Kelly and I were kind of talking about this as well before you hopped on, but Damar Hamlin and the Buffalo Bills, I mean, it seems so cliche anymore to say thoughts and prayers are with, anybody in any situation anymore. It feels like, I mean, you almost get chastised for saying that anymore, but you and I, and Mr. Kelly and, majority of the people here on TNCRadio.live are professing Christians and, try to live our best lives. And when we give and say thoughts and prayers to somebody, we know that that's not a cliche. Right. And we know, I feel like I'm getting behind a pulpit now. It's kind of weird, but, we believe in the power of prayer here, and, step by step, little by little, Damar Hamlin is getting better. Man, did you see the replay? I unfortunately was not watching the game live. It's neither. I was going to say, it's funny because I've seen so many wicked hits in NFL games. And to me, that was probably one of the least likely plays that you'd ever see for a guy to get back up, stand up, and then all of a sudden collapse again. And, we obviously send our heartfelt thoughts and prayers to him and his family and everything, and hope for a speedy recovery. And for all the players and fans and everybody that was involved in the incident too, I mean, that takes a toll on everybody.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was a routine tackle. I mean,
Right.
you and I were texting each other. You're down in Atlanta. I'm up in Canada, in province of Ontario, so we're on the same time. And we're just, well, actually, you were in Atlanta. You're actually out by the ocean. We won't say where. But the hit that Marvin Harris Jr. took in Saturday night's game was much harder than the tackle hit
Right.
between
Yeah.
T and Hamlin.
Right.
And, funny to kind of get ready. And I knew I had a show, and I was getting ready earlier today. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but there was a hockey player that suffered a similar situation. Chris Progner, I think it's Progner.
Pronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He took a puck right in the chest, and he got up similar to what Hamlin did. And then he kind of hit his knee a little bit, and he got up again, and he fell out. But the difference between Hamlin's situation is that he was still breathing. His eyes were looking at the rafters, and he was still somewhat conscious.
Right.
Hamlin's heart stopped, and then you find out he gets to the hospital, it stopped again.
Right.
So to echo your words, JB, we know that prayer works, and we know how powerful prayer is. And the prayer for him is not just that he returns, but he wasn't out to a length of time where lack of oxygen to his mind be affected.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Long-term cognitive, issues. We certainly hope that doesn't get affected and everything like that. But what's interesting, Ivan, and we, we try to pride ourselves on a show that doesn't, dwell on the negatives of sports and want to dwell on positive stories. I mean, that's kind of what Trey Rangs has been, but that's kind of been our whole underlying tone as well. But I just, as horrific an event as this has been, I've been smiling since Monday night at just the response from not only the communities of Buffalo and Cincinnati, but just people who are just being so generous. Have you heard about his toy drive now is up to $6 million in donations from people that he had basically set a goal to do $2,500 for a toy drive, and people have just been outpouring love. And it's interesting. You spend any more than a minute on Twitter, and it feels like you need to take a shower from all the negativity.
Yeah.
But it's been so awesome to see people respond with the humanity that they've shown. It kind of makes you almost believe that maybe 2023 is going to be the start of something different, Well,
I pray that it will. I would say this is one of the things that, there again, me kind of echoing what you're saying, but we always talk about this, and I say the same things over and over. One of the reasons why you and I got out of some of this industry is because it's a very negative industry, and we don't like to bash athletes. You guys have heard me out there in the airways. You can listen to the podcast. I constantly talk about, I never like to talk bad about athletes because what they do is so unique. It's so amazing. But I always use this law or this rule from physics. It's also the laws of diminished returns. Because we see it so often, we forget that only, 900 players in the NFL, 53 players per team that can play professional football. 400 certain players can play professional basketball. And you just go on and on about any professional sport. And depending on the sport, the smaller it gets. There's only, I think, less than 200 professional tennis players.
Well,
how many MMA players are there?
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about this before. The fact that for all the Division I athletes, Division II athletes, whatever that go into college, less than 1% of them ever go pro. So,
right,
to be a professional athlete, like you said, is certainly a dynamic all into itself. But as we have a situation like this with Damar Hamlin, it just goes to show you we're still all human beings.
Oh, absolutely.
And you and I actually got blessed to work as an intern for the same television program for ESPN back in the day, up close. But I think for me, one of the things that I really took away from that internship was the fact that, a lot of athletes will be human beings, but also a lot of beings will be, athlete human beings and superstars and prima donnas and stuff. So when you get into situations like this with Damar Hamlin, a guy that's been out of college just for a couple of years, went to the University of Pittsburgh, and it just goes to show you that everything is just so fleeting. It doesn't matter if you're LeBron James or Damar Hamlin. Anything can happen at any time. And, with the Lord's will, you have the ability to have a long sustained career, not have many injuries. It's just, it's been a sobering.
It is. And Hamlin worked hard. This was not a first round draft pick. This was not a guy that came out of college highly, he's going to be a top 5, top 4 guy. 6th round draft pick. So he worked even that much harder to get his time on that field.
Are we still with you, Josh?
I think we lost him for a second.
Lost him for just a moment.
That's okay. But I was pretty, Tom, I was pretty amazed to find that story. Him getting hit in 1998 with the puck. This, when something like this happens, it has to happen at just the right second as the electricity moves from one side of the heart to the other to cause this kind of cardiac arrest. It is. It was pretty astonishing. Because when I heard it, I actually was cooking dinner, and I think it was my daughter said, "Hey, someone just got hurt on a football game," and she found it on social media. I quickly turned on to the game, forgetting that it was Monday night, just getting back in town, and it was like, oh my goodness, what just happened here? And I thought they did a great job of not showing the whole thing. I thought that was very respectful. But
it's not like a Joe Theismann thing where you look at it and you feel sick to your stomach or whatever. This is, it doesn't look like anything.
No,
it doesn't look like it, and it's not anything. It's kind of just the right circumstances, just the right hit in just the right spot at just the exact right second. Do you remember the movie Kill Bill?
Yeah.
Okay, and
sure do.
And the what was it? The 5-finger palm heart hit, and you take 3 steps. It's basically the same idea. That if you hit the heart at just the right spot and just the right, you take 3 steps and you fall over dead. It's basically what happened here.
Exactly. And I thought I was listening to some doctors, and they did a good job of explaining that they thought that the heart got shocked and didn't make a full pump.
Right.
And just kind of, almost like spazzed. But, he is in the hospital. It looks like he's doing better today than he was last time. So we just keep lifting him up in prayer and just keep praying for his family. And we'll be back on the second segment. We're going to talk about some college football because I know everybody had a chance to check out TCU and Michigan, and that was a strange game.
Playoffs.
It's the TNC Radio. That's the Clutch Time Sports Radio on TNC.
Do you have the TNCRadio.live app? It's free and easy to download. Just go to app.tncradio.live, Google Play, or the App Store. Get access to live streaming radio developed by drivers for drivers. Download the TNCRadio.live app today. The info blog on TNCRadio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. A truck driver's guide to balancing work and home life. Truck driving's hard and demanding work. Becoming a truck driver means spending many hours and days on the road. You'll sacrifice a lot for your trucking career. For many long-haul truck drivers, it's hard to separate life at work from life at home. Learning how to have a balance between home life and work life is essential if you want to have a long-lasting career in trucking. Check out our guide to balancing work and home life for truck drivers. Get enough sleep. Getting the recommended amount of sleep each night is a rare thing for truckers. Although sleep may be difficult for truckers because of the uncomfortable way of living, it's essential to their well-being and safety. Start prioritizing sleep and make a sleep schedule. Set an alarm for a certain time and turn off all electronics and get your much-needed sleep. Not enough sleep can make life on the road miserable. Exercise often. Due to the many hours of sitting each day, truckers start to experience body pain and health issues. Not exercising and taking care of your health can cause a lot of problems in the long run. You could be out of a job and possibly out of work. Eat healthy. Having your truck stocked with healthy snacks and meals while you're on the road will help teach you how to have a healthy work-life balance. Start making it a habit to go to the grocery store before you head out on the road. Also, avoid eating at fast food restaurants and truck stops. Do not think about work when you're at home. Whether you love trucking or hate it, you've probably thought about your job while you're off the clock. It can be difficult to separate the two. Thinking about work too much while you're at home can make you anxious, sleep deprived, and put you in a bad mood. Instead of worrying about work, try picking up a new hobby or exercising. Spending time with friends and family can also get your mind off things. Make time for family. It doesn't matter if you're on the road or at home. Make time for family. Make it a priority to talk to someone in your family once a day. It can be tough for truckers, especially OTR truckers, to maintain relationships with their family due to the trucking lifestyle. Keeping in contact with your loved ones will help life on the road be less lonely. For more information, be sure to check out the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
I'm Hope Savara. Join us on tncradio.live at 7 p.m. Eastern with Building Strong Minds with your host, Dr. Christopher Cortman.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Kelly. We can actually hear our music again. Josh, isn't that nice?
It's a new year.
Nice. Oh,
New
my
blessings.
gosh. I feel so on time in that area. So, JB, I'm going to go ahead and bowl around a little bit this week. We had a lot of bowl games. I'm sorry, I had to fit that in there, you know?
We're going to start bowling puns. I mean, the spare me, you going to split it up a little bit? What are you going to do here?
I don't know. You know, I want to talk about the important games. I mean, the important bowls. I mean, the Cheez-It Bowl was pretty important. At least the commercial was. I'm sorry. The Cheez-It Bowl is just the name itself. And I'm no disrespect to the product. It's just the Cheez-It Bowl. So, I don't. That's the way
Cheez-Its
that was.
are bomb. I'll take Cheez-Its any day. If they want to be a sponsor of Clutch Time Sports, please hit us up.
Them.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But, you know, some of the old names were there, like the Holiday Bowl was there, which I really appreciate. I don't know. I didn't really find, you know, just watch some of the games. I didn't watch a lot of bowl games, but let's get to the playoffs. The CFP. And the Fiesta Bowl between TCU and Michigan. I was really stunned that Jim Harbaugh had changed his game plan a little bit. Michigan is known for smash 'em up football, and they didn't run the football like they should have after that beautiful
very first play of the game.
Oh my gosh, they take off. I thought they were going to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then they come with all this trickery on the first possession on the goal line, and I'm sitting there looking at them like, what are you doing? But to walk away with no points and not respecting your opponent, I thought really cost them the game.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this over the weekend, but I mean, it feels like self-inflicted wounds really just killed Michigan, whether it's turnovers that were returned for touchdowns or, like you said, the trickery at the goal line on, you know, their first drive of the game. You save that kind of stuff for when, you know, maybe you're playing against a team that's on its heels already, but on the very first drive, and you just see how something like that can totally take away momentum from, you know, the start of a game. I mean, you got a long ways left to go, but if you just get 3 points right there, who knows what happens?
Oh, I was adding it up, and I was sitting there with my brother-in-law because he's a big Michigan fan. Even though he's a Canadian, he's a Michigan fan, seriously. And we were sitting there, and when Michigan didn't score anything, I said, they should go for – he said, well, I said, when you're playing in playoffs like this, every possession is about putting points on the board. So I was adding it up. There was 3 points they lost there. Then when McCarthy just basically over on board, go for a 2-point conversion, I'm like, they should go for a field goal right here. And you could see those 4 points right there was just adding up. And it was just bad decisions that they made that just kind of blew me away. But you're right. I mean, McCarthy threw that interception, and that guy took it to the house. It was like, are you serious?
Well, and there were a lot of plays in that game, really, where you talk about self-inflicted wounds. But, I mean, Michigan's defense didn't show up either. You know, the team that destroyed Ohio State, you know, and the high potent offense that they have, which, frankly, I thought that they were probably the best of the 4 teams to take out Georgia with the offense that they had. You know, maybe TCU will surprise us on Monday, but their game plan was fantastic and just going after Georgia's secondary. Not to segue into that game right now, but just to hammer the point, though, that where was Michigan's defense against a TCU team that they had plenty of time to prepare for?
You're exactly right. And Ohio State, I think, and I can never prove this, it's all speculation and theory, but I think that had Marvin Harrison Jr. not got knocked out of that game, with a 1-point victory, Shank goal attempt, I think Marvin Harrison in that game is a difference maker, and I think Ohio State wins, which, in my opinion, showed me from day one that when Ohio State played against Michigan at the Shoe in Columbus, there was so much pressure on them. I don't think they were playing so tight. And I think that they looked at Georgia like, you know what? We got lucky. Thanks to USC, we got it here. We're 4th seed. Let's go out here and have fun. And they played loose, and you could see it. They drove. They scored. They stopped Georgia. Georgia was not expecting that.
And by the way, speaking of bowling, and I know this is off the CFP bandwagon here for a second, what about USC and Tulane and that finish?
Oh, wow.
With the Green Wave scoring double-digit points with 4 minutes left to go in that game. And it so reminded me of the Pac-12 championship game where USC just couldn't make a tackle to save their lives. And here comes that I have not really had any big dog to horse to get my, to get my attention to, be a big fan of. I've never been a huge fan of any particular college football team. I just enjoy seeing basically a mid-major like Tulane, although mid-major is a basketball term, beat a USC on a Cotton Bowl stage like that where, everybody expected USC to just blow them out.
It's amazing how what you just said. Look at where USC was ranked at. Did they still finish at 5? I couldn't remember if they finished at 5 or not. Or did they get moved down to 7?
I don't remember. All I remember is that that whole game totally reminded me of the Fiesta Bowl back in the day between Oklahoma and Boise State.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The Statue of Liberty play, the behind the back throw just that kind of mid-major upset over an established school like Oklahoma. I mean, I would put this Tulane win over USC above that as far as, wow, that was a huge surprise.
That, SC didn't belong in the top 4. And I just thought it was really funny how you saw these teams jump up. SC gets in there. Tennessee gets in there, and I understand, I was talking with my brother-in-law about this, how, that perception of reality. Well, Bama is just Bama, and it felt like they were trying to find a way to put Bama in the top 4 in the playoffs. And I know Tennessee beat Bama, and wow, but it's just, I'd like to see next year the CFP go into next year saying, okay, we're not going to judge schools based off their history. We're going to let them play, because obviously what we think should happen is not happening. Because if it was up to them, if you think about the social media pressure, the sports broadcasting pressure, and people out there, TCU would have never had a chance. They would have never made the top 5. But it was pressure that put on them. And look, they go in and beat Michigan, who was ranked 2. I mean, let's let college football be college football, and let's stop judging teams based upon who they are, who they were, because this year is different from next and the year after. Let's just play football for the year and enjoy it.
Well, and hopefully we'll get that automatically when the football playoffs expand anyway, to more teams, so that you can get, the debates kind of settled. Alabama looked every bit deserving of being in that top 4 with the way that they performed in their bowl game. But the way that the other 2 college football playoff games actually went, I can't make any argument against any 4 of those teams, Ohio State, TCU, Michigan, whoever, to be outside of that top 4,
exactly.
Aside from Alabama.
I mean, to me, they got it right. You had made, I remember going back to the argument that you had made, and it was a great theory. You said there's only 2 teams that could change at this point. 1 and 2 are set. But TCU and USC could possibly change. And you were right on it. You came up with a wild theory. I didn't think it would happen. And it goes and it happened. SC lose and TCU loses, but SC got dropped, and, of course, TCU maintained their ranking, which allowed Ohio State to get back in. But it's that 12 team CFP. I honestly believe you don't do 12 teams. Just do the top 16 teams, because I'm trying to figure out how that's going to work. With 16 teams, you can do it. With 12 teams, I think that's going to be kind of a funky situation, because I don't know how it's going to work, JB. Maybe you can explain to me how is that going to work with 12 teams.
What's interesting is that we can talk till we're blue in the face about all this, but, for a while it was no football playoff, and now we've got 4 teams, and it's not enough. 12 starting in 2024. Are we going to be in a situation where it becomes like the March Madness, who are now talking about a potential 90 team field? You got to let some of this marinate a little bit. I think, we it's funny to think about. We've only had the college football playoff for about 10 years now. So, now that we're finally getting an expansion outside of 4 teams, let's see what happens with 12 teams first, and maybe we'll get more of those Tulanes of the world, or Boise States, or whoever else, get into that top 12 and put the arguments to rest. See if they can take down a team like Alabama or Georgia.
Well, let's talk about this on the next break. But I would say this before we go to break. I would like to go into next year with the ranking system of what they finished at. I don't want to come up with a new let us meet and here's the new ranking system. Let's go into what they finished. If you finished at 5, you went and won your bowl game. You finished at 5. You start next year at 5. If you won the championship, you start next year at 1.
Well, but
that's
you lose a Bryce Young off of Alabama, who's going to the NFL. Do we know that they're a top 5 team yet?
We
probably not. I mean, TCU started the season unranked, and here they are playing for a national championship.
Right.
So
I just wanted to. The chips will fall where they fall.
Yep. You have to play the games.
Yes. Yes, you do. So we're being a little quiet tonight, but that's okay. We will be back after this short break. And guess what? Our favorite segment is coming up with Trey Rings. You're listening to Clutch Time Sports on TNCRadio.live.
The St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund is excited to once again offer its diabetes prevention program. This free, CDC-approved, year-long program begins January 10th with live webinars focusing on nutrition, movement, stress management, sleep, and more. Sponsored by Southern Recipe, this program is for those at risk not already diagnosed with diabetes. Visit our website at truckersfund.org, take the risk assessment located under the Health and Wellness tab, and register today.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. I am wearing a black and white shirt, cleverly to introduce a concept called dichotomous thinking. Dichotomous is two colors, black and white. And there are many people who think about issues in black and white. They don't know a gray area. What they typically do is see things as either all or none. They love it or they hate it. Best day ever, worst thing that could happen. Always a sense of catastrophic thinking and defeated. This thing is not going to work. It's terrible. It's also known as rigid thinking. And we have research that people who think rigidly or think dichotomously suffer more from depression and more from anxiety, more suicidal thinking. Why? Because of their inflexibility. You know, one of the hallmark signs of physical health is flexibility. If you take a person who can bend down and touch his toes or her toes without bending the knees, that's a good sign, especially when compared to a person who could barely get past the knees. Well, the same thing's true about thinking. One of the hallmark signs of a healthy person emotionally is their flexibility. They have the ability to roll with the punches. Things don't always go your way in life. But the flexible thinker is able to say, that's okay, we'll work it out. You know, the new restaurant has a 2-hour and 45-minute wait. No, we're not waiting that long. Let's try this other place. You know, the movie we wanted to see, it's sold out. That's all right. We'll catch up to it in a couple of weeks. Let's go see this one. The flexible thinker finds a way to survive. The dichotomous thinker causes issues for self and for others. Practice being a little more flexible. Now I got to change my shirt.
Do you feel like you're facing more than just the physical road ahead of you? Are you wondering if there's more to life? Join Ron Fraser, the host of Truckers Life Radio, every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, where he discusses the spiritual side of a driver's life. On the show, he goes through the spiritual and moral questions drivers face on a daily basis, helping you, the driver, as you travel life's highway.
All righty, everybody out there on the roads. I hope you truckers are having a good evening. I know you're glad that the snow is gone. I was there on the other side of the country. The snow was there, but now it's gone. It got really cold and got really hot at the same time. But it is our third segment, and we know what time it is. That's because in the last 4 years, we don't want Trey Rain.
Oh man, it's so good to hear that boxing bell again too. I mean, this is great. Well, everybody, welcome to 2023, and I always try to surprise Ivan a little bit with what is going on with Trey Rangs tonight. It's gonna be no different, and so Ivan and Mr. Tom Kelly, if you both would like to chime in at some point, by the way, feel free. This is kind of going to be a little more rapid fire than normal, but in the spirit of the holidays, I've come up with 5 New Year's resolutions, 5 things that I would like to see happen in 2023 in the year of sports. So instead of Trey Rangs, in the spirit of the holidays, I'm calling this 5 golden rings. And really, I'm just trying to make Ivan cough. I mean, that's really the only thing I'm trying to do here. No, I'm kidding. So, all right. 5 things that I would really like to see happen in 2023 in the world of sports. And a lot of these are kind of personal, but some things are kind of far-fetched too. We'll see what maybe happens. 5 resolutions. So, Ivan, as you know, and as Mr. Tom Kelly knows, I'm a not so in the closet WWE fan. And my brother and I already have tickets to WrestleMania at SoFi Stadium on April 1st and 2nd. So the one thing that I would really like to see happen there is having Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson return, as it has been rumored for about 6 months now. And we'll see what happens. I mean, you're going to be in LA, make a big splash, and see what happens, right?
I like The Rock. I'm not opposed to wrestling. I just don't watch it anymore. And you're not in the closet. Everybody knows that you like wrestling.
I mean,
The Rock.
It'd be like seeing Hulk Hogan come back a little bit. Well, no, Hulk Hogan's like way older, but still.
Yeah, that's a little too old.
Yeah, well, they brought Stone Cold Steve Austin back last year, so if they could bring him back, maybe they can bring The Rock back too. But all right, that's rang number 1. Rang number 2. I would really like to see one more competitive major title run for Tiger Woods. I'd just like to see it. I am not a huge golf watcher or golf follower, and it seems like we've spent half of 2022 talking about LIV and everything that goes with that. But how fun would it be just to be in the competitive nature of golf again and see Tiger Woods get back into contention after all that he's been through with his car accident? And I don't know, Ivan, if you saw the challenge that he and Charlie played in with, was it Jordan Spieth and his dad? No, it was, anyway, just to see that, was fun. And Tiger Woods makes golf entertaining. Whether you like him or not as a person or whatever he's done in the past, to me, he's a draw. And to see him do one more competitor, he doesn't have to win. I just want to see him get into contention one more time for a major tournament title.
Agreed.
Okay, number 3. This is kind of close to home for you and I, Ivan, but it would sure be nice in 2023 to see the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim of Orange County, California, finally get Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani into the playoffs this year. It's kind of sad to see such generational talents not being on the biggest stages of sports. And I think as far as baseball is concerned, you can't find 2 bigger generational talents that deserve a spotlight like the playoffs more than Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, who are in our backyard.
I would agree with that. I think it would be nice, especially for Trout. I mean, Trout has been here a very long time, and people absolutely love him. That would be nice.
Well, and the fact is, too, as we've seen over the last couple of years, he's become a little more injury prone. So I think that window is closing for Trout and the Angels. And frankly, you almost kind of wonder, too, if they're at the point where they're starting to talk about breaking all this up. And not that there's a lot to break up, but go ahead, Tom.
Well, they have to. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I wish it would happen too at some level, but it's not going to happen because you've got the Astros who are dominating the division, and Texas and Seattle that have both made great offseason moves. And the truth of it is, the Angels have not really done anything to really change the nucleus of the team. They have 2 great superstars and a bunch of wannabes.
And there's no argument whatsoever.
There's no argument on that, my man.
You can't win with that. And so you either need to really invest the way that Texas and Seattle are, or say, you know what, this has been great. How much will you give me for Ohtani? And Trout they can do whatever they want to with Trout.
Yeah, no,
you're telling the truth on that.
I just, as a fan, and looking at the scope of the landscape of Major League Baseball, it just feels to me like those two in particular have have not had the stage, let's say, that maybe they probably could and should deserve. Which
absolutely,
I mean, that happens for a lot. That happens for a lot of athletes, for sure. But knowing that they're in our backyard here and been overshadowed by the Dodgers and even the Padres to some extent down south, it would be nice. It would be nice to see generational talents like Trout and Ohtani back in the playoffs. They don't have to win the World Series, but just get them that stage, see what they can do.
I would love it. I don't see any way it's going to happen with them on the Angels.
I would agree.
Well, we shall see. So, Ivan, this next rang, this is number 4 now in our 5 golden rings. This is going to be right up your alley because I feel like we could probably even talk about this in the next segment, but we'll see. What I would love to see is to get bona fide all-stars into the NBA dunk contest this year. Give me Giannis, give me LeBron, give me some other big name NBA all-stars. Maybe even do like just a 1-round all-star dunk-off between all those that get voted in or selected by coaches to the NBA all-star team.
The problem with that, JB, really has to do with when you're playing the game, you have so much energy that's flowing through your body. And so when you do something in the middle of the game, it can never necessarily be replayed or recorded or redone in a dunk contest. It's a different energy.
No doubt. But if there's anything I think that's been lacking as far as NBA showcasing is concerned, we haven't it's become such an outside shooting game anymore. So let's bring some power back. Let's bring some, finesse and dunks and, give me something that, people are going to start talking about more than just Steph Curry making 600 threes in a game, or in a season. Not that I'm complaining about that.
Off the bench, against the backboard, up on the rafter, down through the hoop.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Jordan and Larry Bird McDonald's commercial.
That's
right
what
there.
I'm saying. Yeah, we got to go back to that. You want to spice things up? Bring back Spud Webb.
I think we're going to have to. I think we need to cancel the dunk contest for a little bit. I think we need to find something else to fill its place right now.
Make them forget how much they miss it until it's gone.
Yeah, I think what it is just it's a young man's game. Like, the guys that do it are the guys that have been in the league less than 5 years. They still got a lot of spring there. But I think right now, if they got rid of it for about a year or two, I think they could bring it back after that and people would enjoy it.
Well, we shall see. We got a couple minutes left here in our segment, but the last of our 5 golden rings, and maybe this will lead us into more NFL talk in our 4th segment here, Ivan. But as a personal fan of the 49ers, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant in the 2022 NFL Draft, I'd love to see this story continue to a Super Bowl title. Not selfishly, yes, selfishly for me as a 49er fan, but he hasn't lost yet either. How cool would it be to see a story like this, or a guy that basically wasn't going to get drafted till the final pick of the draft go all the way undefeated, leading the 49ers to a Super Bowl?
Well, I think that story's been done before. And his name is Kurt Warner.
Well, I knew you were going to say his name, but he didn't go undefeated going through, after he came in to get to a Super Bowl. It was pretty close, that's for sure.
No, but he sure went to the Super Bowl in my opinion, as a very underpaid quarterback and won a Super Bowl. So,
Trent Green, I think is still sore about that one at this point.
Hey, it's I can't. Your 49ers are playing great without Jimmy G. I think they're doing fantastic, but I wouldn't call that a made-for-TV or theater movie.
Well, I beg to differ, but I am a
49er fan.
I know. I'm right there with you. It just my golden rings for this year, for 2023, things that I would love to just see happen. I think that would be an awesome story. And of course, to see DeMar Hamlin make a full recovery would be also at the top of that list. That would be, part of those rings as well. But Yeah, those are 5 golden rings, 3 or 5 things that I would love to see happen in the world of sports over this next 2023 year. And we'll talk more in our final segment. You're listening to Clutch Time Sports right here on TNCRadio.live.
Ready for a music break? Did you know that you can use the TNCRadio.live app to hear the best in traditional country? Traditional country, you know, the good stuff from the 50s and 60s and on. Traditional country is more than a time period. It's a style and approach to music that we cherish. We have an incredible collection of songs that define country music and also sprinkle in some Western music, you know, cowboy music, bluegrass, Americana, and country gospel. Our TRUSA president and country Western music icon, Rex Allen Jr., also hosts an hour of music and memories. At TRUSA, we have a heart for the road and the heritage of country music. Wherever you roam, we hope you'll take us with you. Enjoy the ride on Truckers Radio USA. To listen to TRUSA Radio on the TNCRadio.live app, just click on the music button and then TRUSA.
This blog on TNCRadio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 5 best scenic drives for truck drivers. One of the many benefits of being a truck driver is traveling the beautiful United States. Truck drivers spend their life on the road. Although they may get tired of driving, there's still routes and attractions most look forward to seeing. Whether it be cruising down the coast to California, driving in the Smoky Mountains, or passing through the Arizona desert, truck drivers all have their personal favorites. Here are the 5 most beautiful scenic drives rated by truck drivers. Pacific Coast Highway. The Pacific Coast in California, also called Highway 1, is one of the most iconic scenic drives in the United States. Driving along the Pacific Coast reminds you of a movie or TV show. It's about 650 miles long and runs from Capistrano Beach in Orange County to Leggett in northern Mendocino. San Juan Skyway. San Juan Skyway, a scenic byway in Colorado, is known for its million-dollar views. The byway goes across the San Juan National Forest and has provided truckers with beautiful views of the mountains and landscape. Beartooth Highway. Beartooth Highway in Montana is a 68-mile byway that runs through southwest Montana and northwest Wyoming and goes into Yellowstone National Park. Along this drive, you'll see one of the most diverse ecosystems accessible by vehicle in the United States. Keep in mind that the scenic highway closes in the winter due to adverse winter conditions and typically opens up on Memorial Day weekend. I-64 in West Virginia. West Virginia has some of the most beautiful landscapes on the East Coast. Driving down I-64 in West Virginia feels like you're in a painting. If you have time to stop along your truck route, check out Tamarack, located just off I-64 in Beckley, West Virginia. Tamarack is a unique culture center with art from local artisans and delicious food. If you want the full Appalachian experience, check out Tamarack. Utah's Route 12. Utah's Route 12 is one of the most scenic routes in the United States. It's often called the All-American Road. Also, there are 2 national parks at each end of the road, Bryce Canyon and Capitol Reef, and many other unique scenic views. This info blog was brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. It's Landline Now, followed by Steve Summers' Overnight Drive every night on TNCRadio.live starting at 11 p.m. Eastern and 10 p.m. Central.
All right, welcome back in TNC Radio.live. This is Clutch Time Sports with Anderson and Banker. And guys, before I turn it back over to you, I know you both signed a pledge at the beginning of all this to keep all things positive, and you do, and I'm very impressed by that. However, just one thing I need to throw out there because I'll sleep better if I do. Skip Bayless, you should be so fired. You should be so fired. You should be so fired. I'm over you. Everybody's over you. Shut the blankety blank up. Okay, I feel better.
Wow. Mr. Kelly had to get something off that chest. Tom, you got to tell us how you really feel, though.
Not a fan. Never have been a fan, and now I just, what Fox Sports, you're embarrassing yourselves. Get this guy off the air.
His ending of his Twitter statement really should have been his beginning. I'm not sure if Shannon, and I don't know if Josh, if you were aware of this or not, maybe you could tell me because I wasn't following, but Shannon Sharpe did not appear on that show that morning. I'm not sure because he was concerned about Hamlin or talking to other friends, or he was upset what Skip Bayless had to say.
Well, when he did show up yesterday, and today, hardly even began to talk, and Bayless cut him off, and I mean, they immediately got into it. But this is what Bayless said. Bayless is everything that's wrong that you guys are trying to do right in this industry.
Yeah, he is a negative. He does lead with negativity on that.
He wants the negativity out there where you guys try to bring the positive energy, and I'm sick of it. And I know a lot of people are sick of it. We're sick of the Stephen A's. We're sick of Bayless. We're sick of Mad Dog. All these guys who just want to tear down. Go away. Give me more Anderson. Give me more Banker.
What do you say, JB?
Man, do I really get back on my pulpit again here a little bit?
Yeah, you gotta get on that pulpit, man.
What is sad to me anymore, and this is almost a biblical principle where we're taught to hold our tongues and think before we speak. And in this instant gratification world that we live in, especially with social media and trying to get clicks, trying to get attention, as if somebody like Skip Bayless or Shannon Sharpe or whoever doesn't have enough attention already. Can you just let something unfold first before throwing your 2 cents out there?
I completely agree. And thank you, Tom, for saying that, because it is why we wanted to get out of that industry until we found Mr. Kelly, a place where we could talk sports. Athletes they hear it all the time. And Skip Bayless, I always say, the guy doesn't even like LeBron James. LeBron James comes from an environment that he should not even be where he's at. And he doesn't just do things for himself. He does things for other people. He has been an athlete to start a school, not just start a school. He worked with the right PhD professors and doctors to run the school, but then went and made whatever deals he had to make to let these kids go and get their undergrad for free at Youngstown University, Cleveland State, Bowling Green. They get to go to college for free for their undergrad. But athletes are human beings, like you said earlier, JB. They're human beings. They're not perfect. And what they do, they're going to make mistakes, and you hear people get down on them. And we're all human beings. What does the Bible say? We all fall short, and that's the honest God truth. But Skip Bayless is like any of those broadcasters where they've made their name and their mark on the super high negativity of things and always blaming the athlete versus looking at this is a business, folks. And we look at it as a sport. But let's be honest, between the owners, the general managers, and the players, and the unions, and the agents, and marketing, it's a business. It's the business of sports.
Well, and let's be fair to Skip Bayless. He's not the only person that does these sort of things either. No. So this is not to specifically bash on him in per se, but for the specific situation, yes.
I named others.
Yeah. So, but it goes to that culture that I was talking about at the beginning of the show, where it's nice to see the response that Damar Hamlin's whole tragedy has brought out some of the good in people anymore. Yeah. And it would be sure nice to be celebrating that, when we're still obviously praying and hoping that he does recover to the best of his ability. And like I said, you spend a minute on Twitter and you feel like you're getting 1,000 Skip Baylesses all at one time, in the world of negativity. So it's just the kind of culture we seem to be in anymore, where we think before we don't think before we say something, and oftentimes it's negative. It's always going to be negative.
All right, I knocked you off your game real quick, guys. You got 1 minute. JB, what's going to happen Monday?
I think Georgia had their wake-up call against Ohio State. I think their defense is going to clamp down on Max Duggan of TCU. I see them winning by 2 touchdowns.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
I'm gonna go with the under versus the over. TCU showed me that they have the best, most consistent hurry-up offense I've ever seen in college, and I think they're going to use that to their advantage against Georgia. If their running back is okay and healthy, that guy averages 4 to 5 yards a game. I say TCU wins this by a touchdown.
It's going to be a yawner. It's going to be the game we all expect it to be and wished it wasn't.
There you go.